their life on Mars.
Hey Crusaders! This quick video today is more of me posing a question to you and the world. Something that I have been wondering. And that is all about science fiction and whether or not knowledge affects enjoyment. Now, I know next to nothing about science. I did alright in my exams in school, but that was more because I memorised everything without really having an idea what I was memorising. Chemistry, I will not even get you started on it. Physics, I used to draw giraffes in my exercise book. Science was not really my favourite thing, and I can't say I have retained anything about moles or crude oil or gravity, because I really was that kid who thought that when they opened the parachutes they actually shot into the air, rather than it being the fact that the person, the cameraman, had not taken their parachute up yet. And my mind was blown in physics class when we learned how parachutes worked. They don't get shot into the air? What? Everything I ever thought I knew is a lie. But if I'm not really a science person, then how come I can enjoy science fiction so much? And do I really appreciate and enjoy science fiction like I'm supposed to? Now, obviously science fiction covers a wide range. I say something like a time travel book that isn't really accurate science would be better, but if I'm talking about reading something like The Martian with all of those equations that he did and all of the physics and everything, yeah. How do I know whether it's accurate or not? I actually have no idea whether what was his name? Chris? No, he wasn't. Mark talked about was accurate or not. Does the author really know science? It was really impressive to me. I really enjoyed the book because I was so impressed with all of the equations, and I didn't question any of it because I thought all of this makes, sense. I don't really know otherwise. So I found it easier to enjoy because I wasn't reading apart and thinking, oh, that's not right. But does that mean that I'm not quite connected to it on that extra level? Because I feel like that might be the case. When I read historical fiction and I know about the period, I'm using history as a much easier example. So when I read historical fiction and I read about a period that I know, I'm like, yeah, I remember this, yeah, this happens, oh my gosh, yes. Or I'm like, oh god, that didn't happen, why are you talking about that? So it must be the same principle for science people with science fiction books. And I don't have that. But I'm not really trying to learn any science from them, I'm just appreciating them. Like when I read a book about art, I don't really understand art, but I can appreciate a book about art and people talking about art. I don't know if space travel annoys anyone, because I remember once people talking about, what is that book called? These Broken Stars, no, it's not These Broken Stars. Shadows of Earth, no, what was it called? The book that I'll put here, that is one that was quite popular in the YA genre, apparently ridiculously unrealistic. This author knows nothing about science. So can authors who know nothing about science write a science fiction novel? A lot of people love this book, which I've completely forgotten the name of, but because they probably don't know any better about the science. But people who do physics as so science, I keep saying so, I'm sorry, I'm covering a wide range, you get the general idea. People who know about that get really annoyed with it. So I just don't know whether or not when I read science fiction that's about space or is about genetic modification or whatever it is, whether or not the book is doing it justice. Does anyone else feel like this, or is anyone else not bothered or knows more about science to know one way or the other? I feel like I've got across what I wanted to say. Obviously, when I say science fiction, covers a pretty wide genre. I'm not trying to say that you can explain everything in science fiction with science, and we could really get into why it's even called science fiction, but we're not going to, because I couldn't tell you because science. So to summarise the question I'm trying to ask, if you are a science person, does that sometimes ruin your enjoyment of science fiction books? And if you're not a science person, does that sometimes ruin that extra level and enjoyment of science fiction books? Can anyone ever win, really, in the end? Thank you for watching, guys. Look in the shadows.